Hey, what's going on, all you little coochie munchers out there? It's your boy Senpapi J here, and today we're going to be taking a deep dive onto the Genshin Impact fandom wiki so I can bring you guys from the beginning to the end and a little bit beyond and help you guys pick up all the little tidbits of information that you may have dropped along the way. This is going to be a brand new series on the channel, which we're going to be calling Genshin Impact Lore Librarian or Genshin Impact Deep Dive, something like that, I don't know. But today we're going to be starting off with the Archons and the Archon War. Basically, an Archon comes from the Chinese word Moshen, meaning god or demon god, and these are the people in the Genshin Impact gameplay in the Genshin Impact universe who can manipulate elemental energy, like allocate elemental energy by giving it to people in the form of visions, and whose lifespans are much longer than that of the mortals that surround them. Several thousand years ago, however, many Archons roamed Teyvat with control over specific aspects of each element, which could be seen in Zhongli's story quest, where they had the god of Geo, or the god of Mora, contracts being Rex Lapis, Morax, whoever, and then the god of Salt, who we kind of see their backstory and we'll get into a little bit later. Celestia, which is the nation in the sky that you see periodically throughout the game, had basically offered up 7 divine seats which promised the victors absolute dominion over their element, which basically sparked the Archon War. We'll get into that a little bit later, but basically what this page says is that 2,000 years ago the last divine seat was claimed, and these last 7 that remained standing were known as the 7, which is why we have 7 nations in the continent of Teyvat. Each of the 7 possesses something called a Gnosis, which is what the Tsaritsa's after and what La Signora stole from Venti and all that other stuff. Each of the 7 possesses this thing called a Gnosis, and it's defined as a higher nexus of power that allows them to resonate directly with Celestia and grants them the divine ability to defend their respective nations. So here on the wiki, they have a table displaying the true name, local alias, current persona, divine ideal, element, region, and status of each one of the 7 Archons. Obviously, we know Anemo and Mondstadt. Geo belongs to Liyue. Electro belongs to Inazuma. Dendro belongs to Sumeru. Hydro belongs to Fontaine. Pyro belongs to Natlan. And Cryo belongs to Snezhnaya. And the corresponding gods to each of these regions and elements being Barbados, Morax, Ball, the unknown god of Dendro, the unknown god of Hydro, the unknown god of Pyro, who is commonly referred to as the Lady of Fire, and the unknown god of Cryo, who we know as the Tsaritsa. Each of their divine ideals corresponds in the order that I mentioned earlier. Barbados being freedom, Morax being contracts, Ball being eternity, Dendro being wisdom, Hydro being justice, Pyro being war, and Cryo being unknown at the moment. However, people are speculating that it's love, which is a little twisted given what's happening with the Fatui at the moment. If you also go on the wiki, it mentions other Archons and gods, which can be found in the background, the backstories of Venti and Rex Lapis, Zhongli, whoever, and some other stuff that I don't really even know, if I'm going to be completely honest. Other than that, that's all the information that can be found on the Archon page, so let's get into the Archon War section of this video. So, the Archon War was a war between the Archons, obviously, that started around 3,000 years ago and ended around 2,000 years ago. The war began as a power struggle over the 7 divine seats of Celestia, both for supremacy and to see their plans for prosperous humanity come to fruition. However, not all Archons participated in the war with the intent of taking a divine seat. This is pretty much what happened with the god of Salt within Zhongli's storyline, where Havria was kind of just buying time for herself and her constituents, and basically ended up cornering herself into the region which is known as Sal Terai, which is why her followers rose up and ended up killing her themselves. Alright, so here on this page they only have the regions and the backstories for Mondstadt and Liyue, as the only story quests we've had available were for Zhongli and Venti so far. So here for Mondstadt, it says that 2,600 years ago, in the midst of the Archon War, Mondstadt was actually located northwest of its current location, which is actually Storm Terror's lair currently in the game, but back then was Mondstadt. Barbados at the time was nothing more than just like a wind spirit, while another god named Decarabian, the god of storms, was the current Animo Archon, the main guy, you know? So, because of Decarabian, Mondstadt was a wasteland of ice and snow and endless icy blizzards, making it almost impossible for humans to live outside the walls created by Decarabian. All of this really crappy climate was created by Andreas, who was the wolf boss within the game, because he hated humans more than anything. That's all it says. We don't really know yet. I don't know. In order to protect his people from the cold, Decarabian enclosed the city in a wall of storms, letting nothing go in or out. However, the people weren't happy about it, feeling trapped and forced to worship the god. During his time as a wisp in the wind, Barbados met a young bard who dreamed of nothing but freedom. And with help from the bard and other people dissatisfied with Decarabian's rule, he raised an army against the god of the storms and brought him down and the tower that he lived in, freeing the people from the stormy cage. Unfortunately, the young bard hadn't made it, causing deep regret for Barbados, which is seen at the end cutscene of Venti's story quest. There was also another group of people that Barbados had engaged with, who were the Gunhilder clan, which we'll dive in a little bit later on, but all you need to know about them is that they're a group of people who lived outside of the walls of Decarabian in the icy wasteland and are basically the family lineage of the current head of the Knights of Favonius, Jean and Barbara. It's their clan, their family. So the Gunhilder clan really pretty much just gathered a bunch of followers to worship Barbados, and this way he was able to gain enough power to assist Andreas in the overthrowing of Decarabian. After Decarabian's demise, the seat of the Animo Archon was open, and because Andreas, while powerful, wasn't a good fit, he defaulted it over to Barbados. And one of the first things Barbados basically did with his newfound power was create his corporal form, which we know as Venti, in honor of the young bard that he had befriended in the midst of the war. Now for Liyue, it says that during the Archon War, Morax and Guizhong, who was the god of dust, were living with the Adepti and their people in the region now known as the Gwili Plains, or the Gili Plains, I don't know. When the war had began, they stood by each other and fought for the other gods, but Guizhong had died, and Morax took the people south of Mount Tianheng and established what we now have as Liyue Harbor. From there, Morax defended his people from gods and other monsters, notably impaling various gods with stone lances, of which Osial was one of them, and he threw a meteor onto the sea monster known as the Chi of Gai Yun, making the well-known location of the Gai Yun Stone Forest. Although they were defeated, however, the stone pillars became divine and basically imbued with hatred and other curses. This caused demons to come out and a bunch of other problems, which forced Morax's hand and tasked many of the Yakshas to hunt them down and defeat them. But after the battle, the Yakshas became so corrupted by rage, madness, and shadows, and only two returned alive, one of them being Bosacius, who left for unknown reasons, and the other one being Alatus, who is still alive and active. Meanwhile, the salt goddess Havria, known for her gentleness and relative weakness compared to the other gods, tried to avoid the chaos of the Archon War and yearned for peaceful days of old. This was what I was referring to earlier, and basically in this brutal era of the Archon War, she kind of just started giving up all of her territory, all of her assets, in an effort to keep her people safe because she knew she was weak. And because of this amount of self-awareness, she actually ended up cornering herself into the location known as Salt Terai, and with her constituents and her followers feeling so pent up and pigeonholed, they ended up throwing a revolt, and once this Archon was killed, they let out this ray of divine power upon their death and just pretty much salified everybody within the notable region, which is why Zhongli and that stupid bitch from the boat had that little spat, and he just roasted the shit out of her. Basically, that's all we have on the Archon War and all the other Archons, but we are going to be returning to Inazuma soon to meet the god Baal and we're going to be visiting all of these other locations too. I think Ball actually comes in 1.3 or 1.4 or 1.3, something like that. And I think it's 1.4 because it's coming every 2 updates. And then after that, I think we go to Celestia if some of these leaks are correct. And then we go to Fontaine, Pyro, and then Saritsa and Shneznaya is going to be held for the final game. Other than that, guys, it's been your boy Senpapi J. Please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me if you guys want to see this. Tell me if I'm doing anything wrong. I'm pretty new to this. But yeah, boys. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace and love, baby. Yeah.